Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be taking you through a typical day in my life working as a summer analyst at Goldman Sachs within the finance division where I interned a few years ago. I actually did a placement year internship, which meant that I joined at the same time as the summer analyst did, but after the first 10 weeks when the summer analyst left the company and go back off to university, I actually stayed and the placement year students do another 40 more weeks. So my internship was actually a total of 50 weeks instead of the 10 weeks that a summer internship would be. I've also made a video on a day in the life of a graduate within the finance division, so you can check that out in the description if that interests you. But this video is going to be all about a day in the life of a summer intern in the finance division. And there's a few key differences between a summer analyst and a graduate analyst. So for example, a summer analyst might be doing things like firm-wide induction sessions. They might have a massive project over the course of their internship. They're expected to do a lot of networking. So we talk about all of those things that I did in my life when I worked as a summer intern. So let's get straight into the video. The day begins quite early for me when I was a summer intern, so I would usually wake up at around 6:45 and start to get ready for the day. So this would include doing my basic morning routine, like I'd brush my teeth, have a shower, make sure I'd put my suit on, make sure I'd look as sharp as possible, and then I'd have a light breakfast on my way out, and then I would leave my house at about 7:45 to begin my daily commute. So at 7:45, after I've left the house and gone onto my commute, I actually only lived a few stops away from the office when I was an intern. This is highly recommended, and you should definitely do this if you're an intern, because you want to save as much time as possible on the commute, and you want to make sure that you get there really early and probably before the rest of your team get there so that you can create a good impression. Also, you're just getting used to your working life, and so you want to make sure that you have a minimal commute and you're not spending ages commuting, because you don't want to get into the office really tired, really sweaty, really warm and things like that, because obviously commuting on the tube can be really bad sometimes. So make sure that you try and get yourself a place that's quite close to the office. So I used to leave the house at about 7:45 and then I would probably be at the office by about 8:10. So this was a really nice commute for me. After I've got into the office at about 8:10, and this is before the rest of the team get in, I can start to organize myself and make sure that I'm ready for the day. I've got everything in order. So this would mean that I would check my emails, make sure I check if anybody had scheduled any meetings with me, respond to emails, make sure that I've basically sent out calendar invites to people where I need to meet with them. So for example, if I'm meeting my buddy, which we'll talk about in a second, but if I'm meeting my buddy or my manager or other associates in my team, I need to make sure that I've scheduled in that time with them. So in the morning, I would basically use between 8:10 a.m. to about 9 a.m. just to get ready for the day and organize myself. Also, between 8 to 9 a.m, the team are just getting into the office, and so email traffic is quite low, and as a result it gives you time to not just organize yourself but be a little bit productive as well. So for example, as an intern you might be given some daily tasks or some weekly tasks that are quite low on the difficulty scale, but they can be quite tedious and time consuming. So maybe if it's a task that you're doing every day or every week, then you can make sure that you're using this time in the morning when nobody else is in the office to actually get those tasks out of the way. So that's some of the sort of tasks that I'd be doing really early in the morning so that I have them out of the way. Between 9 a.m. to 10 a.m, I would have several different calls. So I could have a call with my buddy, as I mentioned earlier. So a buddy is basically somebody in your team who's kind of responsible for you. So basically it could be an associate within the team who's got a few years of experience, and basically they are your buddy and they are responsible for you. So anything that you need, your kind of first point of contact should be your buddy. So you could have a call with your buddy in the morning and update them on what you're going to be focusing on during the day. If you need any help from them, if you're finding anything challenging, or perhaps you want to learn something from them about the team and so on. So between 9 to 10 a.m, you might have a call with your buddy. The other thing that you might have is a team call. So every day, there'd be a team meeting where, the team structure would basically be the intern at the bottom. So that would be me in this case a few years back. And then you'd have analysts on top of the interns. And then you'd have associates who are more senior to analysts. And then you have VPs who are usually your team lead. And then you have an MD right at the top who usually isn't part of the team, but they oversee several different teams. So your direct manager is most likely to be the VP in the team, who's the team lead, but your buddy, who's like your informal kind of manager, could be your associate. So in this team, we would have a quick roundtable, and the team would go around in the meeting talking about the different things that they're going to be working on. So people would share things like their project timelines, what they're going to be focused on, what they're finding challenging, if they have any spare capacity to take on more work, and so on. So as an intern, your job is to do something similar. So when your turn comes up, you basically talk about your project that I'll mention and talk about in a second, but you talk about your project, what you're going to be focused on, where you're stuck, where you might need your manager's help, and so on. And then your job as an intern in these meetings is to also take notes and ask lots of questions. So for example, if one of the team members is talking about tax or VAT or financial statements or something like that that you're really interested in, then your job is to take notes and ask lots of questions to try and understand some of the wider work that the team is focused on, and make sure that you're getting that proactiveness and eagerness to learn across to the rest of the team. Between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m, we basically just have a big slot dedicated to work, calls, and productivity. So as a summer intern, you're usually given an 8 to 10 week summer project to complete, so it lasts the whole length of your internship. So for example, my project was to take a piece of workflow, so a working file, and use the internally developed software that the firm had developed to basically automate that piece of work, and as a result create time efficiencies within the team. So the project that you're given is usually quite non-technical. The reasoning behind this is that, as a summer intern, you probably don't have the accounting skills and understanding at that point to go and work on financial reports and financial statements and tags. These are really complicated things, and as a result you need something a little bit less technical. Another reason why you're given a non-technical thing and an automation project in most cases is because it means that the team are actually getting you to do a piece of work that they've really been wanting to do, and they have some background knowledge on, but they just haven't had the spare capacity and the resources to do this. So this is a great idea for you to be able to work on, because it means that you can actually lean on the background knowledge and the subject matter experts that are already present in your team or your wider team or your division, and as a result they'll basically guide you on how to get to that finish line and deliver an amazing outcome for your team and for your internship. At the end of this kind of project, at the end of your 8 to 10 weeks, you'll basically do a big presentation to like your VPs and MDs and so on about your solutions, for the project, your automation project, so the progress on it, the solutions, the challenges, and you'll also produce some sort of documentation that you'll present so that when you leave the company, you can show that you've actually thought about transferring that knowledge that you gained over your internship to other people, like other members of the team, so that there's that complete knowledge transfer process happening as well. Finally, as a summer intern, there are so many different sessions that the firm holds every single day as part of your internship for you to learn more about the firm and the organization and the culture. So sometimes between that, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. slot, I might have a kind of firm-wide induction session. So this would be like along with all of the other interns that are part of the company. So not just finance, but all of the different divisions would come in and, be part of that session. So the firm might host sessions on things like diversity or ESG or the organizational culture and things like that. Or you might have kind of finance specific sessions in my case where the finance division have organized these for finance interns only to learn about the different kind of subdivisions that fall under finance. So you might have a session every single week that takes you through a different subdivision, or different teams. So for example, you might have a session on legal entity controllers, product controllers, regulatory reporting, tax, etc., just for you to understand and get that high level overview of what each different team does within your kind of umbrella of the finance division. Okay, so now it's 1 p.m. and now it's time for a quick lunch break. So between 1 and half 1, I'd go for a really quick lunch break for about half an hour. The company culture, not just at Goldman Sachs, but at most investment banks, is that, you eat your lunch at your desk. So as an intern, on most of the days, I would try and eat my lunch at my desk because, you're an intern, you're very new to the company, you don't want to start challenging any company culture straight away. And so I'd mostly, eat it at my desk, basically doing a little bit of work. But on other days where I had some sort of spare capacity and I wasn't as busy, I would basically go and have lunch with some of my intern friends, etc. So, you can feel free to do that, but most of the time you probably eat it at your desk, in that short space of 1 to half 1. At half 1, I'm back from lunch, and between half 1 and 4, I'm back with a big slot of just work and work calls and being as productive as possible. So during this time, I might focus more on my project, and try and make some progress on my project. Another thing about the afternoon time in London is that when it's your afternoon or your evening in London, in New York, they're about 4 to 5 hours behind, depending on the point of the year that you're in. And so as a result, there's that nice overlap where you can have calls with colleagues in New York. So oftentimes, when you're working on a project, it's often the case where the subject matter expert on that project is in a different region. So for example, in your project, if your project, subject matter expert is in New York, then at this point you can actually, leverage the knowledge they have and, schedule calls with them during this point. So I might have calls with subject matter experts on my project, or I might be having a call with my buddy if I need some help from them, or I might be having a call with my manager to see, if they have any updates, regarding the internship or regarding the project, and maybe I need their help and so on. In addition, other team members may also utilize you at any point during your internship. So for example, they might ask you to help them out in other pieces of work that they're doing. So for example, in the finance division, the financial statements are kind of a constant deliverable that happens, every single period. And so as a result, during your internship, you might be asked by other team members who are working on the financial statements to help them out by doing some of the basic checks that an auditor might perform. So this might mean that you need to cast the numbers, which means you add them up and make sure that the totals are correct. You might need to cross-check the referencing, so the referencing between the financial statements and the notes of the financial statements. So you need to do some cross-referencing. You need to make sure that the previous year's data is copied over correctly. So these are like basic checks that an auditor does, but a summer intern can also do. And so you might be utilized by other team members to do a bit of work for them. So financial statements and doing some basic auditing is just one example, but another team member might loop you in on something else. And so it's your job to, be as helpful as possible and get involved in all of the other tasks that they want you to get involved in. Okay, so now it's 4 p.m, which means it's time for a quick break after that big productive start that we just went through. And so at 4 p.m. to 4 p.m, I would basically have a quick coffee catch up with a team member or someone from, the neighboring teams or someone from the wider division. In financial services companies, there is a big culture of having coffee catch-ups with people. So this means that you'd schedule about half an hour in their diary to learn more about them, the role they do, their team, and just leverage that organizational knowledge that they've basically built at their time during this company. So it's a really nice time to just learn more about the division, to learn more about them and see if you kind of fit into the company. And it also gives them an opportunity to expand their network by, getting to know you and all that sort of stuff. So even though it feels really awkward at first to email people because you're quite junior and they're quite senior sometimes, and you feel like you're taking up their time that they could be using more productively and doing work, you should never really feel awkward to do so, because everybody does this, and everybody's really open to getting to know you, to helping you out, and it also gives them a chance to expand their network by getting to know you, and basically gives them a break from work as well, which obviously everybody wants and appreciates. So it's really nice, and I would definitely recommend doing that coffee catch up. So every single day, or every few times a week, I would try and have coffee with another team member or from the wider team to learn more about them. With the capabilities of Zoom and things like that now, you can actually do this internationally. So if you have colleagues in international regions, as a summer intern, it would be amazing to get to know a little bit more about the colleagues that you have in different regions. So again, you can do this internationally as well. Finally, the last piece of advice that I really appreciate was that as a summer intern, and when you're growing up as well, a lot of people say that it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. But actually, as a summer intern, it's about who knows you as well. So making sure that you actually have a coffee catch up with people and they know you as well is really important, because at the end of your internship, you need people to vouch for you and make sure that they're saying, yes, we want you to come back, and give you that return offer. So you need to make sure that people know you, and people appreciate the work you do, they're aware of it, and as a result, networking and having these like coffee catch-ups with people is a big part of your summer internship. Okay, so now it's 4:30 and I'm back from my coffee catch-up, and between 4:30 and 7, this is just another big slot of work and work calls and trying to be as productive as possible again. So for example, during this time, I might do some more work on my project. I might actually make some project documentation during this point to make sure that knowledge transfer is happening properly. And it's important to make sure that you document exactly what you're doing as you do it and go through your project, because if you try and document everything at the end, then you're probably going to forget something. So at the end of each day, I would actually spend some time documenting things, that I've changed or where I've made progress and so on, so that it can be passed on to other team members really easily. Also, during this time, again, I might use it to help other team members. So if I've been sent work from them, then I might actually spend some time doing that as well. At around 7 p.m, I tend to wind down, wrap up, and then eventually head home. The working hours for a summer intern in the finance division are about 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Whether you're an intern in the finance division or an analyst, the working hours are pretty similar. The salary is also pretty similar. It's just that the work you do is quite different, because an analyst is there for the longer term. They've signed a contract to be there full time, whereas as a summer intern, you're kind of just dipping in and out of the company pretty quickly. So as an analyst, the working hours are the same. It's just that you have opportunity to do a lot more work because you're there for the long term and they can train you on all of these different things. Also, it's important to highlight that the finance division falls within the back office of the division, which means that 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. is quite common, whereas if you were to work for a front office division like IBD or private wealth management or asset management or sales and trading and things like that, the working hours would be a lot different, and you'd probably be looking at working a lot more hours. But obviously, because they are in the front office and they are revenue generating divisions instead, you end up getting paid a different amount as well. So it's important to bear in mind these small differences when it comes to applying to the right division for you. So that brings me to an end of the video and to the end of my day. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found any value out of this video, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.